The name's Caellach, but some call me the Tiger Eye. I fought in the desert as a mercenary.
Our last Grand Hero battle for 2020 is for Caellach, the Tiger Eye. He's an Axe Infantry unit, and these guys are giving our Lance Flyers a run for their money for how often they've appeared as reward units. That said, Caellach is our first Grand Hero battle one, so I'll forgive them a little for that. For stats, Caellach has 45 HP, 40 attack, 27 speed, 31 defense, 33 resistance. He actually has the highest res for all Axe Infantry units, beating out Hellbindi, and while 33 is not exactly super crazy, it should give you an idea of just how bad Axe units are when it comes to tanking magic damage in general. Now, for an actually impressive stat, Caellach's 40 base attack also ties for highest in the class as well, actually matching Deke's from last banner. He even has an attack super boon to keep up with Deke, which is great. Surprisingly, Caellach also has a speed super boon, and I'm not sure if any of our reward units are gonna have attack and speed super boons, since that's just like a luxury for the banner units. Starting at 27 base speed, Caellach won't exactly be zooming, but if you do want to merge him up or just want to invest in some speed, then that's another positive. For his defensive stats, 45 HP is solid, 31 defense and 33 res is a standout combo, even though neither is super high. Basically, Caellach can invest in one or the other, or both, and you'll still be okay against any kind of attacks. For his weapon, Caellach brings the Reprisal Axe Plus to the game. This is an inheritable 14-weight axe that grants +6 attack when the foe initiates combat. It's not exactly a bad weapon, but also not game breaking. If you want to stack attack for the enemy phase, then this is the weapon to do it with, and you could even refine it for 2 more attack if you want. With his high base attack, Caellach will hit hard if you let him counterattack. For the rest of his base kit, we have a pretty standard Grand Hero battle kit. Dragon Fang as his special actually isn't bad with his high base attack. Caellach will have guard 3 for his B skill to prevent special charging, and I think this might be a reference to the fact that when you face him in Sacred Stones, he has an item called the Hoppling Guard that negates crits. For his C skill, Caellach will then have Even Defense Wave, which grants +6 defense to the user and adjacent allies every even numbered turn. Not a bad self-buffing option since Caellach does have a little lower defense than most Axe users, but not super pivotal to his success. As you can see, not a lot of exciting stuff going on here. Caellach should be used mainly for his stat line, and you're going to have to put in some work on building him up. Luckily, Axe units have gotten really lucky this year with their inheritable weapons, so Caellach will have some fun and exciting build options. If you do want to merge Caellach up, he does have some great benefits. With the neutral nature, he'll get bonus stats in HP, attack, and resistance. Not bad if you don't want to spend trait fruits, but Caellach definitely is a great trait fruit candidate. I highly doubt we'll see attack and speed super boons on a reward unit very often, and like I mentioned earlier, Caellach ties for highest base attack for all Axe Infantry. Getting another +4 attack is fantastic for damage output, and with +10 merges, the guy is going to hit 48 attack without a weapon in hand. Now, if you want to invest in speed for better tanking or doubling potential, then +4 speed from the super boon is also valuable since every point of speed does matter. Caellach's not going to be the next Ninja Hana, but the option is there, and he would very like to not get doubled by every attacker out there. Defense and res boons are also fine for just pure defensive power, but you're not going to hit the next BST bin for arena scoring. Here's a list of all the Hero Grail Axe Infantry units in the game, and as you can see, more than half of them got added this year. There's some big variance in stats. If you want to compare Caellach with Duros, Groom Hinata, and Ninja Hana, you can see that compared to Hinata, Caellach trades 9 defense for 12 resistance, and that's a big difference. Compared to Duros, he also has a lot more res, while Duros adds some speed to his kit. The bottom 4 units are all a lot faster naturally, but besides Legion and Linus who have their own refined weapons, I would highly recommend Ninja Hana if you're looking to go fast. When I reviewed her last month, it's just insane how impressive her offensive stats are, even compared to 5-star Axe Infantry units. Compared to Caellach, Hana has a staggering 13 more base speed, but Caellach has more of everything else. They are both Generation 5 Axe Infantry, so you can pick between better defensive bulk or just a ton of speed. If you want pure attack, then Caellach's Super Boon is definitely worth noting. Moving on to low rarity summonable options, Caellach will top the attack and res categories. For similar recent Axe Infantry, comparisons with Mustafa and Ross are worth looking at. With Mustafa, there's a trade-off between defense and resistance. That is probably the biggest thing to note. With his extra BST, Caellach has 2 more attack and speed, but Mustafa can still deal good damage, and when we're in that mid-20s speed tier, the question of does 2 speed even make a big difference does come up. This could be another case where if you go with Caellach's attack or speed super boons, then he can become a much different unit overall. Now compared to Ross, Caellach has more resistance while Ross wins the HP and speed battle. As someone with a +10 Ross with an attack super boon, I do appreciate the extra speed since with a speed refined weapon and maybe a speed and res solo seal, Ross can certainly hold his own in many situations. I think Caellach can find similar success if you give him a little bit of speed from maybe 1 or 2 skills. Obviously, the Heroic Girl versus Summoning RNG battle is a factor, but I would say you can find replacements for Caellach if you don't want to spend Heroic Grails. If you want some different options, there's Hawkeye and Arthur with their refined weapons, although Caellach has a ton more damage. Last, I always like to include Libra and Echidna because they do have somewhat balanced defense and res stats while speccing a lot more into speed. Now for builds, Caellach has a very simple base kit and you can work with it if you just want some budget skills. Reprisal Axe is an enemy phase weapon, so naturally the quick repose playstyle does work for Caellach. You will have very high counterattack damage and you could even run more attack increasing skills like Sturdy Stance, Fierce Stance, or a Brazen Attack variant. Adding Vanish to the mix could be fun for melee brawls. With his good balance of defense and res, Caellach will be able to tank dragons and other melee threats, although I do think he wants a bit more defense. Close defense is a great Sacred Seal to cover both damage types. Now, if you do want to keep Reprisal Axe and add some attack increasing skills, then Dragon Fang and Draconic Aura may actually be these better specials. Generally, these quick repose units just have an easier time with Bonfire Iceberg, but Caellach has such high attack, and the Reprisal Axe adds even more attack on top. Obviously, if you want reliable one-round KOs, you're probably going to need quick repose in either the Beast Slot or Sacred Seal slot. Last, for C skills, even Defense Wave is fine, but Caellach can also bring Panic Ploy or Infantry Pulse support with his good base HP stats, and smokes are always useful. Now for more premium defensive builds, you may want to replace the Reprisal Axe with one of the defensive options. We have the Mirror Guard for more defense, Barrier Axe for more resistance, and the Guard Axe or Hacker Lantern for blocking specials. Honestly, if you're a fan of simple defense and res stacking units, then Caellach is a solid choice. He has a lot of damage, so you don't need to worry too much about that, and you can even take a defense or res boon depending on the rest of your build. For example, I do think you want a bit more defense, so the Rear Guard's +7 defense could be nice, but you could then refine it for +4 resistance to balance things out. If you want distant counter, then Caellach can possibly just one-shot those really fast squishy mages, but you can also use the low and quick repose combo. If you want to run the Guard Axe, you can supplement the loss of stats with double solo skills, Fortress Defense and Res 3, or either a Bond or Unity skill. Tier 3 dual stances are obviously great, but they have guard built in, so you should take one of these stat increasing weapons. Caellach could be interesting with some speed increasing skills to avoid doubles from non-super fast attackers. For example, you could run Steady Posture or Speed and Res solo, and for debuffs you could run a low speed skill or Speed Smoke. Last, I just want to talk about 3 very nice inheritable weapons. See, while the Lance Flyers keep getting Grand Hero battle units, they just bring the more generic inheritable weapons, or better yet, the Silver Lance Plus. Meanwhile, our 3 Tempest Trials Axe Infantry units have weapons that share effects with their banner counterparts, and this year we got some really good options. Caellach can make use of the Deck Swabber from Pirate Daros, the Huge Fan from Green Hinata, and last the Ninja Masakari Plus from Ninja Hana. Let's start with the Ninja Masakari because these things are basically a better Brave Axe. Initiating with 2 attacks on one of the highest attack Axe Infantry units seems pretty nice, and the +4 speed bonus versus the usual -5 speed penalty on this weapon can shift Brave builds dramatically. You don't have to focus on speed, but for example, Caellach can run Ninja Masakari with double Swift Sparrow and low speed and defense, and he goes past 40 speed. You could use no follow-up to bypass Wary Fighter type skills to quad those really tanky enemies, or you could use an Impact A skill to be safer if you just want to go for the high damage 2-tap playstyle. Obviously, Double Death Blow is perfectly fine as well, and that sweet plus attack super boon is another 4 extra attack. If you rather have more mixed phase power or want a speed focused build, you could try the solo playstyle with the Deck Swabber. It inflicts -5 attack and defense and negates attack and defense field buffs for the enemy. This gives Caellach extra damage and defensive power, so you're free to run multiple speed increasing skills, including the Rouse plus solo skills. Maybe you run Close Call or Spurn if you give him a speed super boon and +10 merges, but you can replace the beast line with lots of other skills. You could run Wrath, Special Spiral, Desperation, no follow-up, or just stack another low on top. Last, if you want cooldown reduction with bonus attack and defense, then the Huge Fan is available. It does require a field buff to activate, so you may want a self-buffing skill or just get them from allies. You can run away quicker pulse with a defensive A skill, or you could use Times Pulse to counterattack with Bonfire or Iceberg after 1 hit. I actually run Huge Fan on my Ross with Heavy Blade 4 and low attack and defense, and it's certainly a weird but interesting setup. If you're going to invest in Caellach, at the very least you have some really interesting inheritable axes. So should you promote Caellach to 5 stars? Well, he does have the highest res for all Axe Infantry, but 33 resistance isn't super high. It does pair nicely with his decent defense stat for defensive builds, and Caellach does have very high base attack, so damage is not an issue. For his base kit, Reprisal Axe is a newcomer, but it's just +6 attack for the enemy phase. You can run it with other attack increasing skills and advantage, but I wouldn't say it's a top tier weapon you have to use. As for Guard and even Defense Wave, they are nice skills, but honestly, we've seen them on a lot of other units. Overall, Caellach's main draw will be his stat line. It's pretty easy to put together a budget quick riposte set with his 30 plus defense and res, but you can invest in his attack and speed as well. The attack and speed super boons are a surprise, and honestly for plus 10 Caellachs, those both seem like viable options if you want to hit that next BST bin for arena. Now the good thing for Caellach is that he's flexible enough to warrant multiple types of builds and playstyles. You don't need to worry about damage, so you can focus on speed, defense, or resistance. Caellach also benefits immensely thanks to the 3 seasonal inheritable axes we talked about. Use the Ninja Masakari for player phrase Brave builds, the Deck Swabber for the solo playstyle, and the Huge Fan for cooldown reduction. You can also just focus on getting more defense, resistance, or having guard with our other inheritable axes. Lots of options are on the table. With no unique weapon, Caellach will require some investment to stand out. For someone like me who has a plus 10 Ross, I'm not exactly in the need for another high damage axe unit, but Caellach is a Gen 5 heroic grow option if you want to build a unit from the ground up. He's also cheaper at the plus 10 thanks to being a Grand Hero battle unit versus a Tempest Trials unit. With his stat spread, I do think highly invested Caellachs will be fun to use, but we got lots of other Axe Infantry units, both heroic grow and low rarity summonable options. Let me know your thoughts on Caellach in the comments and any build ideas you may have for him. He's not really one of the anticipated Sacred Stones characters I was looking forward to, and I already have Ross built, so not really planning to do anything with him outside of a single 5-star copy. I do want to have some fun with his Grand Hero battle map though, and maybe it's time I plus 10 my Joshua. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.